Hello, how you guys doing this morning? Well, great. My name's Taylor. I'm a stand-up comedian. That's what I do. I get to travel around and tell very embarrassing stories about myself. Most of the time when a guest speaker comes to a church, they introduce themselves by showing a picture of their wife and their kids, and they're all wearing matching outfits, and they're in a tree for some reason. I don't know, it's like a really awkward photo, and they're like, huh. I can't do that because I don't have any of those things, ladies, and so instead, I'm going to show you a picture of the time that I went to Disney World by myself. So there we go. It was the greatest week of my life. I was there by myself. It was the best. I didn't have to wait for anybody. It was awesome. Met some of my heroes. It's my dad. I'm just kidding. This felt weird. This was not as fun. I was a grown man, and I was by myself, and I walked up to her, and she's like, "I'm Cinderella." And I'm like, "No, you're not. Stop." And she doesn't look that excited about this picture either. She has a look on her face like, "Get him out of here." I'm kind of an awkward person. That's probably the best way for me to introduce myself. I'm awkward in social situations. Anybody else a little bit awkward? Anybody? Yep, the youth. Okay, great. I do things without thinking. Have you ever tickled someone and then realized you aren't good enough friends with them to have done that? You're like, ha ha ha, we're having a good time, gotcha. Oh no, I'm sorry I tickled you. That's a weird apology to make. I'm sorry, ma'am, and lying at Walmart. That we're having a good time? Ha no, okay, I'll leave. That's me, that's my whole life. Have you ever sneezed and you felt something leave your face and you don't know where it landed? That's the scariest moment of my life. You're like, what'd you do? Ah! Is it on me? Is it on her? And then you tickle her. I say things without thinking too. Like one time I was doing stand-up and I was like, I want to tell you the story of my first kiss. And the kid in the front row shouted out, "Your mom doesn't count." I said, "No, but yours does." And I felt it leave my face and I was like, oh no. I was afraid he'd be like, "She's here." And I'd be like, "Oh, hi." My first kiss, I was a sophomore in high school. I was a sophomore. She was a senior citizen. She's my grandma's friend, and we made out. No, I'm just kidding. I am awkward. I've always been really awkward. I used to get really embarrassed by how awkward I was. Any sort of awkward situation, I would try to avoid or run away from as fast as possible for fear of being embarrassed. And one situation that can be really awkward for people is any conversation where you have to be open and honest about what's going on in your life. And growing up, I ran away from those conversations nonstop because of how awkward they could get and how embarrassing they could get because I did not want to open up to anybody about what was going on. I grew up in church, but still, I had no idea how to deal with depression or anxiety, and I was too scared to talk to anybody about it because I thought nobody was going to understand. I thought nobody else was going through what I was going through. I thought I was the only one, and I thought that there would be, nothing good is going to come from me talking to anyone about this. Nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to get better. It's just going to be weird. It's going to make people uncomfortable. People are going to look at me differently. No one's going to know how to handle it, so I might as well just keep this to myself and push the feelings down and never bring them up to anyone. If I ignore it, maybe it'll go away. And it never worked. It always made it worse. Growing up, junior high and high school, I would try self-harm. And when I was in junior high and high school and college, there were times where I got very close to taking my own life. And I was just suffering in silence until someone in college told me their story about what they had gone through. And what they had gone through was exactly what I was going through at that time. And it was such a relief to find out that I was not alone. I was not the only one, that someone else had been here. And not only that, he wasn't dealing with it in the same way that he had been. It wasn't a struggle as much as it was back then for him. And so it was the first time I found out that there was hope, that things could actually change. And I had a friend who fought through the awkwardness for me. And so now when I do stand up, that's what I want to do for people. I'm kind of love my awkwardness now. I want to fight through the awkwardness of certain topics or certain embarrassing things for other people because that's what someone did for me. Like, I am awkward just always, all the time. I just always am embarrassing myself. I'm bad at setting goals. That's something else that you should know about me. Anybody else bad at setting goals? Just a grumble through the crowd. You're sitting next to your spouse who said they were going to give up donuts. I don't know. I'm bad at setting goals. I have a lot of things that I would like to have happen, but I'm not doing anything about it to make it happen. Like, I would love to have abs. Ooh, I would love to have a six-pack. I would love it if I just rip my shirt off right now and just like, pow! Just like all of you guys would be like, wow! Like blown away. I do not have that. I have the opposite. If I rip my shirt off right now, 2 of you are throwing up. Like, that's where we're at. And I'm not doing anything about it to make it happen either. I do the opposite. Just every night, I rub pizza on my stomach. Just, yes. I'm not going to get abs that way. Terrible at setting goals. I'm really awkward. I want to talk to you guys about that, how awkward I am. You guys ready for that? Everybody repeat after me. Taylor! Let's try that again. Taylor! I'm ready! This side is much better than this side of this. Taylor! You look good! Be louder, guys. Taylor! I bet you smell nice, too. Thank you, youth, for boosting my confidence. I've been awkward my whole life, just always, I just do things without thinking. I grew up in church, went to church my whole life. I went to youth camp every single year. I loved it so much, especially my sophomore year of high school. Best youth camp I've ever been to in my life, especially the services, especially one service in particular was so great, especially the worship. And it was awesome because like everybody was like all in. Everybody was just going for it. All these people were expressing how much they love Jesus in all these different ways. Some people were jumping up and down. Some people were dancing. Some people were crying. Some people were kneeling. Some people were just raising their hands. Some people were just all over the place. And I was pumped. I wanted to express how much I love Jesus too, but I was awkward and I wasn't thinking and I was just like, and then I ripped my shirt off. That's real, that's true. I just went, Jesus! And I was wearing a button-up shirt, and I just hulked out, and just buttons flew everywhere, threw it down. And, yeah, I wasn't wearing a shirt on underneath, just sweaty, and my nib, and just, yeah! And I was pumped. I was proud of myself, because I just pictured God in heaven looking down like, man, I wonder who down there loves me the most. Whoa! That guy ripped his shirt off. Awesome! But really, God was probably more like, why? I didn't ask you to do that. Put your shirt on, bro. At the end of the worship time, my youth pastor got up on stage. We were like spread out in this big gymnasium. He had us all just sit down wherever we were. I sit down on the floor. People sit down around me. And that's when people started to notice. Nobody saw it when it happened, right? We're all facing the stage. We're all facing one direction. I'm kind of towards the back. The only person who could have seen it was the worship leader. And I would have loved to have known what was going through his mind. Just like, oh, yeah, everything's going great. Everyone's just loving on God. Well, that guy ripped his shirt off. Am I going to get in trouble? Is that all he's going to rip off? So I'm sitting on the floor. People are looking at me like, what happened to him? And then here's the most embarrassing part of that story. And this is true. At this camp, I was a counselor. I was in charge of a bunch of little junior high boys. My job is to make sure they don't do anything crazy, and I was just like, here we go! So that night, I had a bunch of very confused junior high boys kind of pacing around in front of me when we got back to our room, and they're like, Mr. Taylor, why did you rip your shirt off? And I had to be like, for Jesus? And they were like, are we supposed to rip our shirts off? I was like, no. But how awesome would it have been the next night, me and an army of junior high boys, we bust into service, the first song starts, we're all just, ah! The worship leader's like, what have I done? I'm awkward everywhere. Public bathrooms make me especially nervous because there's so much that could go wrong in a public bathroom. You know, there's a public bathroom, it's a one-person bathroom, and you get to lock the door. You know, you're in there, the door's locked, and someone knocks. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. No, thank you. What do you say? There's some one-person bathrooms where the door is over here, but the actual toilet is like all the way over here. So you better make sure you lock the door. Because if not, someone starts to open it, you're like, oh no! That's as far as you get, and you're just like, hey, what's up? There are some one-person bathrooms where there's a mirror right in front of the toilet. Why? Why is that there? Just sitting there looking at yourself? Ugh. I don't want to know what I look like in that situation. Avoiding eye contact with yourself? Stop staring at me. Why are you so sweaty? Some of you related to that. Because I'm so awkward, I'm bad at confrontation, which is terrible because there are some people I would like to confront, but I don't know how to do it. So, like, I'm a part of a team that does school assemblies throughout the year. We go into high schools and junior highs, and we do these assemblies, and we always bring a bunch of speakers with us for each assembly. So, like, maybe 2 or 3 different guys will come and speak, and sometimes we bring a photographer with us. We want to take pictures that are like really exciting, really awesome so that we can put them on our social media, we can put them on our website. We want it to be great so that other schools will see the pictures and principals will be like, wow, that looks great. We should have that at our school. And one time we brought a photographer with us and he took pictures all day long. We had 3 speakers at these assemblies. There was Kyle, the guy in charge of the team. There was a rapper and there was me. This guy took pictures all day long. He took like 80 pictures. And I want to confront him because of some of these pictures that he took. But I don't know how to do it. Let me show you some of these pictures, and then you'll understand. So it takes all these pictures all day long. We get them back. The first one, wow, what a great shot. Look, there it is. Kyle, he's just talking to all those students, inspiring them. Look at all them there. What a great picture. Man, that looks like so good. And then the next one here, this one here is of the rapper. Again, awesome shot. Isn't that great? There are all those students. What a lot of fun. This one, that's a youth pastor making an announcement. He had the microphone for like 2 minutes, and he got an awesome picture of himself. What I am about to show you is literally the only picture this guy took of my face. He took pictures all day long. He took like 80 pictures. I'm one of the main speakers. Everybody else looks so cool, but literally the only picture he took of me is this. Why? Why? You can't even tell I'm one of the main speakers. It looks like I just got fired. How are you going to advertise with this? Oh, we got a sad, chubby guy on our team. I've hated this picture for so long. I show it in churches all the time. Then I had this idea. I thought it was a brilliant idea. I'm like, I'm going to be a smart businessman. I came up with this stupid idea. And then when I executed it, I realized just how terrible this idea was. I made T-shirts of this photo. And I was like, this will be so funny. This will be cool. And then I got them, and I was like, oh, no. I ordered too many of these. Why would someone want to wear this? So if you want to wear this, you can. They're for sale outside. Please. I don't know how you'll explain to anyone why you're wearing this. Just wear it on days where you're feeling sad. Let my face show how you're feeling on the inside. So when you see someone in the church wearing that shirt, just know, go pray for them. All right, goodbye. I like that picture better. I know it's already over and it feels weird talking about it, but I talk about it all year long. Guys, I love Christmas. Christmas is the best. It's the best holiday. It's the best holiday. You get everything with Christmas. You get presents, time with your family, traditions. You get Christmas movies. What's your favorite Christmas movie? White Christmas? Elf? I love Elf. I love one specific scene in Elf. It's a very popular scene. It's a very iconic scene, but I love it for a very specific reason. I want to show you this short clip from Elf, and then I'm going to explain to you why I love it so much. You will recognize it. It's from Elf. Go ahead and play it.
It's time for the announcement. Okay. Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Santa! Oh my God!
Santa here? I know him. I know him. He'll be here to take pictures with all the children.
Okay, here's the thing. When you watch a movie the first time, you only pay attention to the stuff you're supposed to. You pay attention to the main actors, and that's it. But when you watch a movie every Christmas over and over again, when you watch a movie 100 times, you start to get bored. You start to pay attention to the stuff in the background that you're not supposed to notice. And in the background of this scene, there is a lady making the craziest face I've ever seen in my life. She literally looks directly at the camera and goes, ha 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 ha. You can't hear her make that noise, but you feel it. You feel that that is the noise that she's making. Just ha ha ha, and looks right at the camera. I watched this movie 99 times. I never noticed her. And then one time it's just like, like she appeared out of nowhere. Had she always been there? Did she just materialize this one time? Most of you did not notice her. But now that I've pointed it out, you will notice her. It'll be all you can notice, and she will haunt your dreams forever. She literally shows up right between the two main actors. Go ahead and play it again.
Time for the announcement. Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Santa!
Okay, here she comes.
God!
Santa here? I know him.
And why?
I know him. He'll be here to take pictures with all the children.
What is she doing? Literally. Ha, 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 ha. You felt it. That's a noise. Who let her stay in the movie? If I was the director and I saw that, I would be like, cut, you're fired, go to jail. You're trying to ruin my film. I want to know everything about this lady. I was afraid, I didn't notice her in this movie. What if she's in other movies and I just never noticed? I was afraid, what if I go see the new Star Wars movie and there's Kylo Ren and there's Rey and in the background just ha 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 ha. She's carrying Baby Yoda, ha ha ha. I want to know everything about this lady. Who is she? Where did she come from? Okay, actually, I have a surprise. That's my mom. Come on in. I'm just kidding. I got you. I love Christmas, though. I love everything about Christmas. I love Christmas music. I love all except for one Christmas song. There's one Christmas song I do not like, and it is 12 Days of Christmas. 12 Days of Christmas is a dumb, bad song. That's the one where it's on the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me, and then a list of gifts given to you by your true love. But these are bad gifts. These are horrible gifts. It's just a bunch of birds. Every day, your true love is here's another bird. And you're like, why? What are you doing? First day, partridge in a pear tree. Okay, cool, bird in a tree. Thanks, now I gotta take care of this? Awesome. 2 is 2 turtle doves. That's a symbol of friendship. You ever seen Home Alone 2? The old man is like, 2 turtle doves. That's how he talks. 3 is 3 French hens. What's so special about a French hen? They poop croissants. You get a French hen, and it's ha ha ha, hello, I am a hen. Also, side note, why do we think that all French people make that noise? Why do we think all French people go, ha ha ha? I've never heard a human being make that noise in my life. You think they all do? You go to Paris walking around, you go up to a little old lady, you're like, hi, grandma. She's like, ha ha, no. 4 is 4 collie birds. Collie means common birds, just pigeons, just chunking pigeons at you. Just, I love you. 5 is 5 golden rings. That's nice, a little break from the birds. But then 6 is 6 geese a-laying. That's birds giving birth to more birds. That's a mess. 7 is 7 swans a-swimming, more birds, but you know what? That's actually pretty majestic and very fancy. But where are they swimming? I don't have a pool. They're just in my toilet. Just sorry. 8 is 8 maids a-milking. I'm lactose intolerant. My true love is trying to kill me. 9 is 9 ladies dancing. That's inappropriate. 10 is 10 lords a-leaping. This one makes no sense to me at all. What does that mean? How is that a gift? 10 lords a-leaping? You just get a knock on the door, you open the door and 10 dudes are just like, hey, what's up? Merry Christmas. And this is it. 11 is 11 pipers piping, just a bunch of dudes vaping in your house. No, thank you. 12 is 12 drummers drumming. That is obnoxious. You were going to scare the birds. Well, I'm awkward. But I love getting to do stand-up. I love getting to travel and do stand-up. As I travel, I get to do other stuff too. I wanted to tell you about real quick. I just started a podcast. It's called the Taylor Johnson Podcast. It's like there's like funny bits. I bring people on who tell funny stories, and then I also have like more serious interviews on topics, kind of like what I said at the beginning. And you can find it on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts and on Stitcher if you use that, but no one does. I'm the only one. So it's called the Taylor Johnson Podcast. You can get that. Also, I wanted to tell you, I wrote a book. I wrote a book last year. It's called In the Altogether, Trusting God with All We Hide from the World. And the shirt and the book are both available outside. The book is about vulnerability and why it's important in the life of a Christian. Why we need to be able to be open and honest about the things in our life with both God and the church. Because things don't change unless we're able to admit that things are bad. And Mr. Rogers, who I love so much, he is my hero. He had a quote where he said, anything that is mentionable is manageable. And anything human is mentionable. If you can learn to talk about your feelings and what you're going through, then you can begin to deal with them. And the people who help you with that will help you know that you are not alone. Because I think that's one of the reasons why we're afraid to be vulnerable with people. We're afraid to be open about what's going on. We're afraid to ask honest questions because, one, we think we're alone. We think we're the only one dealing with this. So there must be something wrong with me if I'm the only one. And two, we're afraid that maybe there's no solution. Why would I bring this up to somebody else? It's not like my marriage isn't going to get better. Why would I talk to somebody about it? My addiction isn't going to change, so it's not worth the hassle to talk about it with someone else. When in reality, vulnerability is the first step towards incredible change. Like, I love the sermon series that you guys are doing right now, Asking for a Friend. The whole idea behind that is there are questions that we're afraid to ask, so we're going to ask it on behalf of, a friend of mine. I hate questions like that. There's one kind of like that. It's not exactly that. Have you ever, you've gone into a public bathroom and you're going to go use the toilet and the toilet is, broken or overflowed or, something terrible has happened to it and you are the one who discovered it and you still need to use the bathroom, so you have to go tell someone who works there about it? There's no way they're not going to believe it wasn't you. There's no way that you can convince them, hey, I just walked in there and, it wasn't me, but I don't know, something bad happened in there. And they're like, oh, you're gross. It's for a friend. The reason behind the sermon series, there are questions that we're afraid to ask because we feel like we might be the only one who'd be asking them. And some of these questions about God and the church and how all of this works, we're sometimes afraid to ask because we're afraid that there isn't an answer to it. What if I ask this question about God and everything unravels? What if I have one little doubt about any of this? And everything falls apart. And what's awesome about this church is that they're willing to take time to answer these questions. They're answering the most asked questions. That means these are the questions that a lot of people thought they might be the only one asking, when in reality they're not. And they're answering the questions because they have a way to answer those questions, which is such a relief. For those of us who have been in church for any amount of time, for those of us who have a relationship with Christ. Or I don't know where you're at. I don't know why you're here this morning. This might be your first time, or maybe you've been coming for a while and you're still not sure of all of this. There are questions that we have, I think a lot of times when we step foot in a church, questions we might be afraid to ask or bring up. I think there are three main ones that feel kind of awkward, could be embarrassing to bring up because we think we might be the only one asking them. The first one is there even a God? Because all of this would be a real waste of time if there wasn't. You could find community, you could find a structure to your life at your CrossFit gym. You could find it anywhere else like this. If there is no God, this is pointless. And what's crazy is because our culture is moving so fast. American culture is moving so fast because of the internet. Everything is brand new every few minutes. Memes, jokes, viral videos, it's old and it's so hard to keep up. And because everything is moving so fast, we can start to believe the lie that everything new is good and everything old is bad. New means quality, old means a waste of time. And to even ask this question, to even think that maybe there might be a chance that there is a God, sometimes feels embarrassing because it feels like a very old idea. Feels like an ancient idea. Feels like something that most people have left behind, that why would you still believe that there is a God? Why would you believe that there is anything supernatural at all? Most culture wants to kind of get rid of that idea, but what's funny is there's still part of them that wants to hold on to it. Even people who would never think that there could possibly be a God or anything supernatural flock to films and entertainment and art about the supernatural. It's everywhere in our books, in our movies, especially our horror movies. Scary movies are now all about the supernatural. Like when I was growing up, it was always a guy in a mask with a knife who walks really slow. But now everything is supernatural. Why? Because we're drawn to those stories. There's a part of us that wants to engage with that, wants it to be true that maybe there could be something more than what exists around us. Like even it's crazy to think that every ancient culture, completely separate from each other, came up with some idea of the supernatural. They had a God. Like, isn't that crazy? They didn't communicate with each other. On their own, they decided there must be something more than what's around us. And you could look at that and say, well, they weren't educated, that's why. Or you could look at it and see that maybe there's something inside of us. Maybe we were designed with a desire for there to be something more. And maybe when we want to believe that there isn't, still part of us seeks out entertainment that says that. Even down to the most base level humanity that ever existed in ancient times, there was something inside of them that said there has to be something else. And there is. There is a God. But if you answer that question, it leads to the second one, which is, if there is a God, what are they like? Because it feels like this ephemeral idea. He's very far away. Who is it? What are they like? How do I talk to it? How are they responding if I pray? What does that even mean? Luckily for us, God sent his son. His son Jesus came down to earth, and everything that he did, over and over again, Jesus said, everything that I do because I saw the Father do it. Everything I say, I got from the Father. If you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So if you want to know what God is like, look to Jesus. You want to see how God handles other people's suffering, look to Jesus. You want to see what God thinks of the outcast, look to Jesus. If you've ever thought of yourself, I could never have a relationship with God, he would never want me, or God is so angry with me, or God could never forgive me, look to Jesus, because over and over again, what did Jesus do? He forgave, he reached out to the outcast, he healed, he took care of people, he changed people's lives, he submitted himself to authority. Over and over and over again, he humbled himself. The greatest act that our God ever did was letting himself be sacrificed on the cross. Like, I don't know, it's what's so crazy in the Old Testament. All these people were looking to who our Savior is going to be. Who is God going to send to save us? And they expected someone to be come to judge and to sit on a throne and to come with might and power. But instead, it's like this, he sends them through a poor family to live a quiet life, not much means, not with power. He doesn't come to sit on a throne to judge people, but he comes and hangs on a cross. The most disrespected way to die. And he died for people who hated him, who didn't even realize who he was. He died with such incredible love for people. So when you have this picture in your mind of who God is, make sure it matches up with who Jesus is, because that's who our God is. It's Jesus. So if that's who our God is, and if he's full of this love and grace and forgiveness and comes to change people's life, we could ask ourselves, why would he want me? I do not belong to someone like that. And the truth is, you do. Why does he want you? He wants to change your life. He came to change everything. And if you don't believe that he can change you, if you don't believe that he would want you, my favorite passage of scripture is in 1 Timothy. It's a guy named Paul writing a letter to a kid that he's been discipling his whole life, a kid that he's mentored. And this is what he writes in his letter. This saying is trustworthy and deserving of full acceptance, that Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am the foremost. But I received mercy for this reason, that in me as the foremost, Jesus Christ might display his perfect patience as an example to those who are to believe in him for eternal life. Paul is super honest. He said, hey, out of all the sinners in the world, I was the worst of the worst of the worst. I was the worst. But God saved me, not just for my own sake, but so that I could be an example to other people, so that God could hold my life up to say, look, if God can save him and love him and forgive him and change him and fix him, of course he could do it for you. That's exactly what my friend did for me when I was in college. When I was struggling silently and I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody else about it, God sent my friend as an example to say, I have been where you've been, but I am not there any longer. I am an example to you of God's perfect patience, which transforms lives. If he did it for me, he can do it for you. Every leader, every pastor on this staff is an example of what God can do. Every Christian who follows after Christ in this room is an example for you. If you're in here and you follow Christ, I need your help with an illustration. If you're in here and you would say that Christ has completely changed your life, would you raise your hand? Put your hand down. Let's get specific. If you would say that Christ has transformed your life and transformed how you deal with mental health, whether it's depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, OCD, or anything else like that, any other mental health issue that you would say, God transformed my life in that specific area with mental health, would you raise your hand? Put your hand down. You'd say, without Christ, I do not think my marriage would have lasted because Jesus transformed my marriage. And without him, I would not still be with them because our marriage was no good without Christ. If that's you, would you raise your hand? How many of you would say, Christ saved me from addiction? You are not alone. Change is possible. There is a God. He sent his son Jesus to die for us so that we could have a relationship with him, to change our relationship with God so that we could be close, to change our relationship with each other so that we could actually be loved and love in a way that the world barely understands, to change our relationship with the world, to change our relationship with sin and the struggles that we face, to change our relationship with darkness, to change our identity, to change the voices in our life. He came to change everything. Gotta get everyone to bow your head and close your eyes. If you're in here and you would say that you do not have a relationship with Christ, and maybe this morning was exactly what you needed because you needed an example to know that you are not alone. You needed an example to know that change is possible, that there is a God, and he sent his son Jesus, and he wants you to have a relationship with him so that he can change everything. And today, you want to start a relationship with him. This morning, right now, without having to clean yourself up first, without having to fix a bunch of things, without having to do anything else, all you have to do is say, I want to be with him. If that's you, you want to start a relationship with Jesus. You needed that example and you have it. You need someone greater than yourself and you have him now. You want to start a relationship with Jesus. I'm going to count to 3. I'm just going to ask you to raise your hand with nobody looking around. 1, 2, 3. Would you raise your hand? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? Awesome. Let me pray. God, thank you so much for your love and your grace. Thank you for who you are, that you are here with us. God bless everyone in this room who knows you and has a relationship with you. Help us to be an example to others. God, anybody in here who still is not sure about a relationship with you, I pray that you would just continue to work on their heart and continue to speak to them because you can do incredible things. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you guys very much.